I stood in the doorway, watching as Lisa zipped up the last of her suitcases. The soft hum of the zipper filled the master bedroom, our bedroom, or at least what had been ours for the past 8 years. Now it was hers. Or rather, it belonged to him. "You'll never get it back," Lisa said, her voice laced with cruel amusement. She turned, hands on her hips, the same confident smirk on her lips that I had once loved. "It's legally his now." I exhaled slowly, taking in the scene before me. The woman I had built a life with, the woman I had trusted with everything, had just sold our dream home for a single dollar to her new, much younger boyfriend. Liam. 23, cocky, and barely old enough to rent a car. He had been lingering around Lisa for months under the guise of a personal trainer, but I had seen the stolen glances, the whispered phone calls at night, the way she suddenly started dressing like a woman in her 20s again. I wasn't blind. I had suspected the affair long before she found the nerve to come clean. And now, she thought she had one. Lisa heaved one of her designer suitcases off the bed, rolling it toward the door. "Honestly, Brandon, you should be thanking me. I could have dragged this divorce out for years, but instead, I'm walking away clean. No alimony, no fights over assets. You should be grateful I'm leaving you with your dignity." I forced myself to breathe slowly, my fingers curling against my palms. "You really think I care about the money?" I asked, keeping my tone even. Lisa chuckled, shaking her head. "Please. I know you, Brandon. You're a businessman. You don't care about me, but you sure as hell care about this house. And guess what? It's gone. Liam's name is on the deed, and there's nothing you can do about it." She wanted me to snap, to yell, to fight. But I didn't. I just smiled. Because Lisa had no idea what she had done. She had no idea about the clause I had buried deep within the deed when we first purchased this house. A small, almost imperceptible addition in the fine print, written with the same meticulous precision that had built my career. A clause that rendered her little scheme utterly meaningless. The house wasn't hers to sell. Lisa thought she was walking away victorious, but she had unknowingly set a trap for herself, a trap she wouldn't see coming until it was far too late. I watched as she grabbed the last of her things and strutted toward the front door. "Enjoy your new life," she tossed over her shoulder. "I know I will." I didn't move. Didn't react. Just let the weight of her mistake settle into the air like a slow-burning fuse. By the time she realized what she had done, it would be too late. And I would be long gone. Lisa slammed the trunk of her BMW shut, tossing her hair over her shoulder with the same air of entitlement she had always carried. I stood at the front door, arms crossed, watching her as she prepared to drive off into the sunset with her boy toy. She wanted me to be seething, to be broken. But I just leaned against the doorframe, calm as ever. "You really have nothing to say?" Lisa scoffed. "Not even an insult? A pathetic plea for me to stay?" I shook my head slowly, my lips curving into the faintest smirk. "Nope." That threw her off for a second. Her emerald green eyes flickered with uncertainty. She had expected rage. Maybe even desperation. But this unnerved her. "God, Brandon, you're pathetic," she spat, gripping the car door. "You really think acting like this makes you look strong? Let's be real, you lost. You lost the house, the marriage, everything." I tilted my head slightly, watching her with an amused expression. "Did I?" Lisa rolled her eyes. "Whatever. I don't have time for your mind games. Liam's waiting for me, and we have big plans." She slid into the driver's seat, revving the engine as if to make some sort of grand exit. I waited until she had backed out of the driveway, until she had reached the street, and then, just as she was about to pull away, I lifted my hand and waved. She hesitated. A flicker of confusion crossed her face. Then, she sped off, tires screeching slightly against the pavement. I exhaled, my smirk deepening as I stepped back into my house. Lisa had no idea what was coming. That night, I sat at my desk, sipping a glass of whiskey as I reviewed the deed to the house. A thick, legally binding document, one that Lisa had never bothered to read. She had always left those things to me. "I don't care about the details," she'd say. "You handled the boring legal stuff, babe." And I had. I had made damn sure I did. When we first bought the house, I added an irrevocable clause in the fine print, one that protected my investment from, well, exactly this type of situation. It was a right of first refusal clause. In simple terms, if Lisa ever attempted to transfer ownership, I had the right to buy it back, for the exact same price it was sold for. $1. That meant that legally, I could reclaim the house any time I wanted by simply handing over a crisp, single-dollar bill. And there wasn't a damn thing she or Liam could do about it. Lisa thought she was clever. She thought she had gotten away with it. But all she had done was gift-wrap my house back to me, leaving herself with absolutely nothing. I chuckled, swirling the whiskey in my glass as I imagined the look on her face when she found out. Not tonight, though. No, I'd let her have her little victory for now. But soon, she'd learn exactly how badly she had screwed up. The silence in the house felt heavier that night. Not in a way that hurt, not in a way that left a void. No, this was a different kind of silence, the kind that settles just before a storm. I leaned back in my office chair, my eyes drifting over the legal document still sitting on my desk. The $1 sale had been finalized. The ink was dry. And yet, Lisa had no idea that she had just handed me the biggest victory of my life. I could almost hear her now, laughing as she and Liam celebrated their win. Probably sipping champagne, toasting to their new life together in our home. At least for now. Let them enjoy it. Because soon enough, reality was going to hit her like a brick to the face. The next morning, I woke up early, stretched out in my bed, and checked my phone. Sure enough, Lisa hadn't wasted any time. Instagram stories. Her account, once filled with high-end dinner parties and loving wife posts, had taken a sharp turn overnight. A boomerang of clinking champagne glasses, a panoramic view of our home captioned, "New beginnings with my love Red Heart." Pathetic. I scrolled further. A photo of Liam, shirtless by the pool, flexing like an absolute idiot. And then, this one almost made me laugh, a picture of her, holding the house keys, with the caption, "Goodbye to the past. Only looking forward now." I snorted, tossing my phone onto the nightstand. If only she knew. She wasn't looking forward. She was walking straight into a disaster of her own making. And I was going to enjoy every second of it. I let a few days pass. Enough time for Lisa to settle in, for Liam to get comfortable. Let them believe they had won. Then I made my move. That afternoon, I took a short drive across town to visit someone I hadn't spoken to in a while, Daniel Carter, my lawyer. Daniel had been handling my legal affairs for years, a sharp-witted attorney who knew how to plan ahead. And thanks to his help, I had the perfect trap waiting for Lisa. "So, you're ready to pull the trigger?" he asked, leaning back in his leather chair, the city skyline stretching behind him. "Absolutely," I said, sliding the house deed across his desk. "Lisa thinks she got away with something. I think it's time we show her otherwise." Daniel smirked, flipping through the document. "She really didn't read a single word of this, huh?" I chuckled. "She never does. She always relied on me to handle the details. And now? That blind trust is going to cost her everything." Daniel nodded. "All right, we'll file the paperwork today. Once it's official, you can claim the house back whenever you want. All it takes is a single dollar." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a crisp, single-dollar bill, placing it neatly on the desk. "Then let's do it." Daniel grinned. "This is going to be fun." That evening, I made sure to keep up appearances. Lisa still had access to my accounts, for now, so I continued my usual routines, making small purchases, keeping everything normal. She would expect me to be grieving, lost, drowning in regret. She wouldn't expect me to be 10 steps ahead. And just to add a little fuel to the fire, I sent her a text. "Me, hey. Just wanted to say, I hope you're happy. Maybe this is for the best. Take care, Lisa. It took exactly 4 minutes for her to reply. Lisa, wow. Didn't expect that from you. But yeah, I am happy. Hope you can move on too. I smirked. She thinks I've given up. She has no idea that the countdown to her downfall has already begun. Let her enjoy it. Because soon, I would be standing in that doorway once again. And this time? She'd be the one packing her bags. Lisa always had a habit of underestimating me. It wasn't just in our marriage, it was in everything. She had spent years assuming that just because I didn't fight her on the little things, I was weak. Passive. Predictable. But Lisa had never seen what I was capable of when I actually played the game. And now? She was about to find out. I sat in my car, parked just down the street from my house, the one Lisa had gifted to her boy toy for $1, watching the driveway as a moving truck backed in. I smirked. She was really settling in, huh? I watched as Liam stepped out onto the porch, stretching his arms as if he owned the place. His smug little grin made me want to laugh. The kid really thought he had won. Inside, Lisa was probably directing the movers, telling them where to put her overpriced furniture, the same furniture we had picked out together. I tapped my fingers against the steering wheel, waiting. I wasn't ready to make my move yet. Not quite. But soon. Very soon. The next step was about setting the tone. Lisa and Liam had made a big show of their little victory, social media posts, celebrations, Lisa's new "I'm a free woman" aesthetic. I figured I'd return the favor. A few hours later, I walked into the bank and requested a cash withdrawal, exactly $1. The teller looked at me strangely, but I just smiled. Then I had Daniel, the lawyer I had worked so hard with, take a picture of me holding up the dollar bill and standing in front of his office. And of course I posted it. No caption. No context. Just a single dollar bill, crisp and ready. Within minutes, people started asking questions. Friends, colleagues, even mutual friends Lisa and I once shared. It was just enough to get the wheels turning. Lisa saw it too. She didn't comment, but I knew she had. Because 10 minutes later my phone buzzed. Lisa, what's with the cryptic post? Trying to be dramatic? I stared at the message, chuckling to myself. Me, just making a small investment. She didn't respond. But I knew that message would eat away at her. Good. A week later, everything was ready. Daniel filed the final paperwork. The clause in the deed had been activated. That meant one thing: Liam was no longer the legal owner of my house. He didn't even know it yet. Lisa, in her arrogance, had never bothered to read the fine print. Liam, a dumb 23-year-old with a gym membership and nothing else going for him, hadn't either. But I had. And now? The law was on my side. I held the legal documents in my hand, reading over the words one last time. It was official. All I had to do now was let them know. That night, I drove back to the house. My house. The place was fully lit, music blasting from the inside. Laughter spilled out from the open windows. It was clear they were still celebrating their victory. Perfect. I walked up to the front door and knocked. The sound echoed inside, and a few seconds later, Lisa appeared in the doorway, her lips curling into an irritated scowl. "What the hell are you doing here?" she snapped. I held up the single dollar bill between my fingers, waving it slightly. Her frown deepened. "What the hell is that?" I grinned. "Oh, Lisa. You really should have read the fine print." She blinked. "What?" I didn't answer. Instead, I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the legal documents, unfolding them slowly and deliberately. Lisa's eyes flickered with unease as I handed them to her. "What the hell is this?" she muttered, skimming the first few lines. Then, as she read further, her face dropped. Her grip on the paper tightened. No, this has to be a joke." I just smiled. Behind her, Liam finally appeared shirtless, holding a beer like the useless idiot he was. "Yo, babe, who's at the His words cut off as his eyes landed on me. His posture stiffened. Oh. It's you. I turned my gaze to him, my grin widening. Yep. It's me. And I've got some bad news for you, buddy. Lisa's breath hitched. Brandon, you can't. I raised a hand, cutting her off. Oh, but I can. And I already did. I leaned in slightly, just enough for her to see the amusement dancing in my eyes. You don't own this house anymore, Lisa. And neither does he. Silence. Then, the realization hit. And for the first time in weeks, I saw her smirk disappear. Lisa's hand trembled as she gripped the paperwork, her eyes scanning over the legal jargon again and again, as if willing the words to change. But they wouldn't. Because this was real. Because she had lost. Liam, standing behind her in his dumb, shirtless glory, looked back and forth between us, his beer halfway to his lips. What the hell is this? He muttered. I smiled, slow and deliberate. It's the fine print, Liam. The $1 deal? That was cute. Real cute. But see, Lisa didn't realize that I had a clause in the deed from the very beginning. One that lets me buy back this house for the exact amount it was sold for. Lisa's breath was shaky. You're lying. Am I? I took a step forward, closing the gap between us. You signed it, Lisa. You handed this house over to him for $1. And thanks to my little clause, I just bought it back for the same amount. Legally. Irrevocably. Completely. Her face turned pale. I could see the moment it fully hit her. The moment she realized she was standing inside a house that wasn't hers anymore. Liam let out a nervous laugh, rubbing the back of his neck. Babe, this guy's messing with you, right? Like, we live here now. I turned to him, smirk growing. Do you? I held up the official property transfer document, stamped and signed. Because according to this, I'm your new landlord. And I want my house back. Now. Lisa's mouth opened, then closed. Her breathing turned sharp, erratic. Panic. Bullshit. She spat. This isn't real. I'll call a lawyer. I laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, you should, Lisa. You really should. I'd love to watch you explain to your lawyer how you willingly signed away a multi-million-dollar home for a single dollar without reading the terms. Liam frowned, finally sensing that something was seriously wrong. He snatched the paper from Lisa's hands, eyes darting over the text. This says the sale is void. How the hell is the sale void? I leaned against the doorframe, enjoying this far too much. Because, buddy, Lisa here never had sole ownership of the house. Our names were jointly on the deed. And there's a clause that requires both parties to approve a sale before it's valid. The second you tried to take over, the house defaulted back to me. Liam blinked. She told me she owned the place outright. I turned to Lisa, raising an eyebrow. Did you now? Lisa's hands balled into fists. You bastard, she whispered. I shrugged. No, Lisa. You're the idiot. You thought you could cheat, lie, and walk away with everything. You didn't think for a second that I might have been smarter than you. Silence stretched between us. Liam, clearly out of his depth, scoffed and turned to Lisa. Tell me this isn't true. Tell me you didn't just screw us over. Lisa didn't answer. Because she couldn't. I glanced at my watch, exhaling like I was bored. Look, I don't have all night, so I'll make this easy for you too. I gestured around. This house? Mine. You. Trespassers. So, I suggest you start packing. Lisa snapped back to life. You can't just throw us out. I tilted my head. Can't I? She squared her shoulders, gripping onto whatever scraps of power she thought she had left. Legally, you need to give us an eviction notice. You can't just kick us out. I grinned. Hook, line, and sinker. You're right, I said. I do have to give you an eviction notice. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Luckily for you, I already took care of that. Lisa snatched the document and skimmed it. Her face twisted in rage. You filed this a week ago? She shrieked. I shrugged. Well, I had a feeling you might need it. Liam looked over Lisa's shoulder. What does it say? Lisa's eyes were wild now. We have 3 days to vacate the property. Liam paled. 3 days? I grinned, clapping my hands together. See? I am generous. Lisa looked ready to lunge at me. You smug son of a… I interrupted, holding up a finger. I could have called the cops tonight, and had you forcibly removed for trespassing, but I didn't. Instead, I'm giving you 3 days to pack up and get out of my house. Liam threw his arms up. Where the hell are we supposed to go? I turned to him, smirk never fading. I don't know, man. Maybe Lisa can sell you something else for $1. Lisa lost it. You manipulative piece of shit. You planned this. You… planned? I laughed, stepping back onto the porch. Oh, Lisa. You played yourself? You were so busy trying to screw me over that you didn't bother reading what you were signing. I gave her one last look, my smirk turning cold. And now you're paying the price. Then, without another word, I turned and walked away, leaving them standing in my doorway, drowning in the mess they had created. Checkmate. 3 days. That's how long they had before they were legally required to be out of my house. I had given Lisa and Liam more than they deserved, time, and I knew it was eating her alive. I wasn't stupid enough to believe she'd go quietly. Lisa was a fighter, but she was also desperate. She had thought she won, that she was walking away from our marriage on top. Now, she was backed into a corner, and Lisa wasn't the type to sit and accept defeat. I knew she'd try something. And I was ready for it. On the second day, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen, seeing Lisa's name. Predictable. I let it ring out. No voicemail. No text. Then, 5 minutes later, she called again. And again. And again. Finally, I answered. Lisa. Brandon, listen. I cut her off. You have 1 more day to get out of my house. Whatever you're about to say, save it. Brandon, don't be like this, she said, her voice suddenly soft. It was the voice she used when she wanted to get her way, the one she had used on me for years. We can be civil about this. I laughed. Actually laughed. Civil? Lisa, you tried to sell our house for $1 to your boy toy. And now that it blew up in your face, you want to talk about being civil? A pause. Then, her voice hardened. You knew this would happen. Bingo. You're a sick bastard, Brandon. And you're a terrible strategist, Lisa. I leaned back in my chair, smirking. You really should have read the fine print. Silence. Then she sighed. Okay. Fine. You win. I raised an eyebrow. That was too easy. But I played along. Glad you're finally seeing reason. Let's make a deal, she said smoothly. Liam and I will move out tomorrow. No drama, no issues. But in return, I want $50,000. I almost dropped my phone. I had expected some kind of last-ditch effort, but this? You're joking, I said, still processing the sheer audacity. Lisa wasn't joking. Brandon, come on. I have nothing now. You already took the house back. I just need something to get on my feet. You can afford it. I let out a low chuckle. So let me get this straight. You tried to screw me over, got burned, and now you're asking me to pay you for the privilege? Lisa hesitated. It's not like that. Lisa, no. Brandon, don't be petty. Petty? I barked out a laugh. Lisa, you don't even realize how lucky you are. If I wanted to be petty, I could sue you for fraud. I could call the cops right now and have you dragged out of my house in handcuffs. You wouldn't dare. I leaned forward, voice turning cold. Try me. Silence. Then, a sharp exhale. Fine, she snapped. We'll be gone by morning. And just like that, she hung up. I smirked, setting my phone down. Lisa thought she had leverage. But she was about to learn just how powerless she really was. That night I drove by the house. The lights were on, shadows moving behind the curtains. It was clear they weren't packing. They were scheming. Lisa and Liam weren't just going to walk away. They were going to try something. So, I made a phone call. "Hey, Daniel," I said, my voice steady. "I need you to come by in the morning. Make sure everything is handled legally." Expecting trouble? I glanced at the house, watching as Lisa paced back and forth in the living room. With Lisa? Always. At exactly 9 a.m., I pulled into the driveway, stepping out with Daniel, my lawyer, right behind me. Lisa and Liam were already outside, waiting for me. Lisa had her arms crossed, her expression stone cold. Liam, on the other hand, looked like he had barely slept. "Brandon," Lisa said, her voice clipped. "Lisa," I replied, calm as ever. "All packed?" Her lips pressed together. "Not exactly." I raised an eyebrow. "That's unfortunate. Because as of this morning, you're officially trespassing." Liam scoffed. "You wouldn't actually call the cops." I pulled out my phone and held it up. "Try me." Lisa took a deep breath. "We have a counteroffer." I smirked. This should be good. She lifted her chin. "You let us stay in the house for 2 more months, rent-free. And in return, we won't drag this into a lawsuit." Daniel chuckled beside me. "A lawsuit? On what grounds?" "Lisa willingly signed everything. She has no legal claim." Lisa's face tightened. "Brandon, think about it. Do you really want to go through the hassle of dealing with us? Wouldn't it be easier to just let us stay a little longer?" I pretended to consider it. Then I smiled. "No." Lisa's expression cracked. "Brandon, I don't negotiate with liars, cheaters, or idiots." I stepped forward, my voice dropping to a deadly calm. "You have 30 minutes to leave, or I call the cops." Lisa opened her mouth, but Liam cracked first. "Lisa, let's just go," he muttered, rubbing his forehead. "I don't want to deal with this anymore." Lisa turned on him, eyes flashing. "What? This isn't worth it," he snapped. "I didn't sign up for all this legal shit, Lisa. You said we'd be set." Lisa's jaw tightened. "Liam." But he was done. He turned on his heel and stormed inside, grabbing his bags. Lisa's face twisted with fury as she turned back to me. "I hate you," she seethed. I gave her a mocking smile. "No, Lisa. You hate that you lost." Her hands shook. For the first time, she looked truly defeated. 30 minutes later, I watched as Lisa climbed into her car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. Then, without another word, she drove away. I stood in the driveway, watching her disappear down the street. She was gone. For good. And as I turned back to my house, I took a deep breath, one that felt lighter than it had in years. Lisa was just a bad memory now. And I had won. Lisa was gone. Her car had disappeared down the street, her suitcases stuffed into the trunk. Liam had left even faster, dragging his duffel bags behind him like a man desperate to escape a sinking ship. And now, for the first time in months, I was alone in my house again. I should have felt relief. Hell, I should have been celebrating. I had won. Lisa had tried to take everything from me, and instead, she walked away with nothing. But as I stepped into the house, a strange feeling settled over me. Everything looked different. Not because the furniture had been moved or because Lisa had taken a few things with her. No, it was something deeper. Something that sat in my chest like a weight I couldn't quite shake. This was still my house. But it wasn't my home anymore. I walked through the house slowly, my footsteps echoing against the hardwood floors. Lisa and Liam had cleared out in record time, but they hadn't left quietly. The living room was a mess, half-empty wine bottles, a broken picture frame where our wedding photo had once been. The kitchen counters were smeared with spilled coffee, as if Lisa had slammed down her mug in frustration before storming out. But the bedroom? That was the worst. The closet door was wide open, empty hangers swinging where Lisa's designer clothes had once been. Her perfume still lingered in the air, a scent that used to remind me of warmth, of home. Now it made my stomach turn. On the nightstand I found a note. Brandon, I hope you enjoy your empty house. It's all you'll ever have now. Lisa. I stared at the words for a long time. Then I laughed. It was bitter, hollow, but it was real. Lisa thought she was delivering some final blow, some last bit of venom to wound me. But she didn't understand. She was the one who had lost everything. I still had my career, my financial security, my house. And Lisa? Lisa had nothing. I spent the next few hours erasing every trace of her. I grabbed a trash bag and tossed out everything she left behind, her cheap drugstore makeup, the jewelry Liam had probably bought her, even the silk robe she had once claimed made her feel like a queen. I stripped the bed, yanking off the sheets and throwing them into the garbage. Every piece of her that remained in this house had to go. By the time I was done, the place felt different. Lighter. For the first time in a long time, it was mine again. I was just about to pour myself a well-earned drink when my phone buzzed. A text. From Daniel, my lawyer. Daniel, thought you might want to see this. Check your email. Frowning, I walked over to my desk, opening my laptop. My inbox had a new email from Daniel, subject line. Lisa's next move? I clicked it. And what I saw made my blood go cold. It was a bank statement. One of Lisa's personal accounts. And on it? A $75,000 wire transfer from MY business account. Timestamped 2 weeks ago. Before she left. Before I could process the full impact of it, another text from Daniel came in. Daniel, looks like Lisa wasn't just trying to take your house. She was stealing your money too. My grip on the phone tightened. I should have known. I should have expected it. Lisa never walked away empty-handed. And now? She had just made the biggest mistake of her life. Lisa wasn't just a liar. She wasn't just a cheater. She was a thief. I stared at the bank statement on my laptop, the $75,000 wire transfer sitting there like a ticking time bomb. The timestamp made it clear, Lisa had stolen from me before she left. And now? Now, it was time for her to pay. I picked up my phone, my fingers tightening around it as I called Daniel, my lawyer. He answered on the first ring. I take it you saw the email. I exhaled slowly, forcing my voice to stay level. How the hell did she do this? She still had access to your business account, Daniel said. My guess? She transferred the money while you were still married, hoping you wouldn't notice until it was too late. Well, I noticed. My jaw clenched. Tell me I can get it back. Daniel chuckled. Oh, Brandon. We can do a hell of a lot more than that. Lisa thought she had pulled off the perfect heist. She thought that once she walked away, I'd be too distracted by getting the house back to notice the missing money. But she had made 2 critical mistakes. First, she transferred the money directly from my business account, not a joint personal account. That meant it wasn't just theft, it was embezzlement. Second, she was arrogant enough to use her own name on the wire transfer. I didn't even need to investigate. She left a digital trail leading straight to her. And that was all I needed. File the case, I told Daniel. Let's see how much she enjoys freedom when she's drowning in lawsuits. Daniel hummed. You sure? I mean, we could settle, negotiate. I cut him off. No. I want to bury her. A pause. Then Daniel laughed. I was hoping you'd say that. That night, I decided to check Lisa's social media. Just out of curiosity. And sure enough, she was still pretending she had won. Her latest post? A picture of a cocktail, caption. To fresh starts and leaving the past behind, cocktail glass. I snorted. She really had no idea what was coming. She thought she was free. She thought she had escaped with her new boy toy and my money. But what she didn't know, I had already filed the legal claim against her. And within 24 hours she'd be served with a lawsuit. Lisa had stolen $75,000 from me. Now, I was going to make sure she paid back every cent, plus interest. The next morning, I got a call from Daniel. "It's done," he said. "Lisa's about to have a very bad day." And damn, he wasn't kidding. Because not even an hour later, my phone buzzed. "Lisa." I let it ring. Twice. 3 times. Then, finally, I picked up. "Brandon," she snapped, her voice panicked. "What the hell did you just do?" I leaned back in my chair, smirking. "Oh, I just did what any reasonable businessman would do when someone steals 75 grand from him." "You're suing me?" "Yep." "You can't be serious." I chuckled. "Dead serious, Lisa. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? You transferred money directly from my business account. That's fraud, sweetheart. You committed a felony." Lisa's breathing was sharp, erratic. "Brandon, we can talk about this." "No, we really can't." My tone was ice cold. "You made your choice. You stole from me. Now, you get to live with the consequences." Lisa's voice broke. "Brandon, please." I don't have that money anymore." I grinned. "Then I suggest you find a way to get it back." Silence. Then, a whisper. "You're going to ruin me." I let that hang in the air. Then I said the cold, hard truth. "No, Lisa. You ruined yourself." And with that I hung up. Lisa tried to fight. She tried to stall the lawsuit, to claim it was a mistake, to beg and plead her way out of it. But there was no escaping this. Within a month, Lisa had been forced to settle. She had to pay back every single cent. And because she didn't have the cash? She had to sell her car. She had to drain her savings. She had to watch her new life crumble, piece by piece. And when it was all over, Lisa wasn't just broke. She was alone. Liam? Oh, he bailed the second she started drowning in debt. Turns out, he wasn't in it for love, he was in it for money. And once Lisa lost hers, he vanished. Her social media went silent. Her new life had crumbled into nothing. And as for me, I was still standing. Still successful. Still in my house, in my life, with my future intact. Lisa thought she had played me. But in the end, she was the one who got played. Lisa was finished. Her money? Gone. Her new relationship? Dead. Her reputation? Ruined. And me? I was still here. Still standing. Still winning. After everything she had done, the lies, the betrayal, the theft, Lisa had finally run out of schemes. She had no more tricks, no more moves to play. And I thought that would be enough. I thought I'd feel satisfied. But the truth? It still wasn't over. Because Lisa wasn't done suffering yet. Not even close. A few weeks after Lisa's humiliating downfall, I got a call from Daniel, my lawyer. "Got some interesting news for you," he said. I leaned back in my chair, smirking. "If it's about Lisa, I'm always interested." Daniel chuckled. "Well, turns out, someone else is looking for her. A collection agency. She took out a private loan a few months ago. 50 grand. And she never paid it back." I raised an eyebrow. 50 grand? Yep. And guess who co-signed it? A pause. And then it hit me. Liam. The dumbass had co-signed Lisa's debt. I let out a slow, satisfied exhale. "Oh, that's beautiful." Daniel laughed. "Yeah, I figured you'd like that. Word is, Lisa's trying to track him down, wants him to help her pay it off. But rumor has it, he's long gone." I couldn't help but grin. Lisa had thrown away everything for that boy toy. She had risked it all, convinced she was trading up. And now? She was broke, alone, and stuck with his debt. Poetic justice at its finest. A few days later, I stopped by a cafe downtown for a coffee. Nothing special. Just a regular afternoon. And that's when I saw her. Lisa. She was sitting alone, tucked away in a corner booth, staring blankly at her phone. She looked different. Not the confident, arrogant woman I had once known. Not the smug, manipulative liar who thought she was untouchable. No. She looked tired. She looked small. She looked like a ghost of the woman she used to be. For a brief moment, I considered walking past her. Just letting her sit there in her misery, unnoticed and forgotten. But then? I decided to say hello. I walked up to her table and cleared my throat. Lisa looked up, startled. And when she saw me, her face twisted into pure panic. "Brandon," she breathed, voice barely above a whisper. I smirked. "Lisa." She swallowed hard, setting her phone down. What are you doing here?" "Just grabbing a coffee," I said easily. "You?" Her jaw tightened. "That's none of your business." I chuckled. "Fair enough." I glanced at the cheap, nearly empty cup in front of her. "How's the new life treating you?" Her fingers clenched around the table's edge. "Screw you." I raised an eyebrow. "That bad, huh?" She exhaled sharply. "What do you want, Brandon?" I tilted my head, pretending to think about it. "Nothing, really. Just wanted to see how you were doing." She glared. "Well, now you know." I studied her for a moment, taking in everything. The expensive designer clothes? Gone. The perfect, confident posture? Gone. The smugness, the arrogance, the woman who once thought she owned the world? Gone. Lisa was just a shell. And that should have been enough. But before I turned to leave, I decided to say one last thing. "You know," I said casually, "I almost feel bad for you." Lisa scoffed. "Don't." I smirked. "Oh, I don't. But I will say this." I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice. "You lost everything, Lisa. And the worst part? You did it to yourself." Her expression shattered. "And that? That was all I needed." I turned, walking away without another word. And for the first time since this whole nightmare began, I finally felt free. That night I sat in my house, drinking a glass of whiskey. I wasn't thinking about Lisa. I wasn't thinking about revenge, or betrayal, or everything I had lost. Because I hadn't lost anything. Lisa did. And me? I was just getting started. The house was finally quiet. No more Lisa. No more Liam. No more empty wine bottles or stolen money or whispered phone calls at night. Just peace. And damn, I had missed this feeling. For the first time in years, I didn't wake up to tension in my chest. I didn't check my phone expecting another crisis. I didn't feel like I was constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because the truth was, the storm had passed. And I had a month later, I got a call from Daniel, my lawyer. "Thought you'd want an update on Lisa," he said, a hint of amusement in his voice. I leaned back in my chair smirking. "This should be good." Daniel chuckled. "Oh, it is. Turns out, she tried to fight the lawsuit, claimed she was tricked into transferring the money. Judge didn't buy it. She had to sell her car to pay the settlement. And get this, she's renting a tiny studio apartment on the other side of town now." I let out a low whistle. From a mansion to a shoebox. That's gotta sting. "Oh, it gets better," Daniel said. "Word is, she's looking for a job." I blinked. "Lisa? Working?" "Yep. No more luxury shopping sprees or ladies who lunch lifestyle. She burned every bridge she had. No one's willing to help her." I laughed. A deep, satisfied laugh. Lisa had spent years looking down on people like they were beneath her. She thought she was too good to work, too smart to lose. And now? She was just another person struggling to make rent. Karma had never looked so damn good. One night, as I was walking through the house, I stopped in the doorway of what used to be our bedroom. Except it wasn't ours anymore. It was mine. And suddenly I realized, I didn't want to keep living in a place haunted by old memories. This house had been my victory, but it wasn't my future. It was time for a fresh start. So, a week later, I put it on the market. Lisa had spent months trying to take this house from me. Now, I was walking away from it on my own terms. Because that was the difference between us. Lisa was stuck in the past, drowning in the wreckage she had created. But me? I was moving forward. And I wasn't looking back. A few weeks later, as I was packing up my last few things, I got a text. Lisa. I almost ignored it. But then curiosity got the better of me. Lisa, I hope you're happy. You ruined my life. I stared at the message for a long moment. And then I replied with the only words that mattered. Me no, Lisa. You did that all by yourself. Then I blocked her number. For good. The day I left the house for the last time, I took one last look around. It had been a battlefield. A war zone. A place where I had been betrayed, where I had lost so much. But it had also been the place where I had won. Where I had stood my ground. Where I had taken my life back. I walked outside, locking the door behind me. And as I stepped into my car, heading toward a brand new future, one thought crossed my mind. Lisa thought she had played me. She thought she was the mastermind. The winner. But in the end? She was just another fool who didn't read the fine print. And now? She was paying the price. Game over.